It sucks. It sucks.
Well, I always say, if you don't want to drive that way, you can crank
This episode of SiNNdiculousness is brought to you by McNeil Engineering and Cruiseville Tattoos.
Trust me.
Early in my wrestling career, I spent a lot of time wrestling in England for Brian Dixon's All-Star Wrestling. One night, Brian had come to me and said, "Hey, Sinner, we've got Tatanka coming in tomorrow night. I'm going to need you to turn down the devilly bits just a scooch because Tatanka's very religious and I don't want to offend him, governor. And I said, "Okay, no problem, mate. Tip top. I got you." The next night in Croydon, we get there a little bit early, so I think we're the first ones there. I don't hear a peep, so whatevskis. I go walking into the building and I go to throw my gym bag down and I stub my toe so freaking hard and I start cussing all of the words, blaspheming all of the words, cussing, blaspheming, cussing, blaspheming. And I look up and who do I see? Tatanka sitting there with his eyes wide open at me, and I'm looking back. Yep, he's looking at me, looking at him, looking at me, looking at him, looking at me. And I say, "Chris, Mr. Tatanka, sir, I'm so sorry. I was so embarrassed." And I felt really bad that I did the one thing Brian Dixon asked me not to do. And here we are. So he puts this really big smile on his face. He's a very kind man. And he says, "Well, look really stiff how you stubbed your toe, ha ha ha, but I think you might be down with the devil." So he was really cool about it over the tour, but he did not let me forget it. And every time I saw him, he called me Devil Boy, and he always joked before we wrestled that he would shower up with holy water to keep my devil cooties off of him. So I can't blame him. Chris is a great guy, so wherever you are, my friend, I hope you and your family are doing great. True or false? I was roommates with Tugboat during my first tour of England. False. It was Earthquake. During my time across the pond, I learned a ton, and one of the guys that I cut my teeth with was Nigel McGuninness. We were both very green at the time, and we were learning from really amazing British wrestlers like Chick Cullen and Robbie Brookside. It was awesome. So one night in Liverpool, Nigel and I are wrestling, and everything's going great. The crowd is loud, we're having a blast, and I called for an Alabama Slam, something we had done plenty of times before. I just had my hands positioned weird, and it was all my fault. And next thing you know, boom, I get knocked the fuck out. And Nigel doesn't know that I'm knocked out. Nigel says to the referee, "Mr. Referee, Sunshine, I think Sinner is either snoring and ribbing me or he might be dead. Could you check him please then, Governor?" All the guys came flying in, Joe Legend, Robbie Brookside, Chip Cullen, all these dudes. I was totally unaware of this. I was out cold. What I think is minutes later, I wake up en route to a hospital in a British ambulance. I was woken up to that wee-oo, wee-oo, wee-oo noise, and to make things worse, I'm wearing the most ridiculous wrestling outfit of all time. I've got these red snakeskin tights on, and the sides were open with this sheer sort of spiderweb stuff, not unlike Brutus the Barber beefcake jammies. And to make things worse, I've got all the eyeliner and the hair and all the crazy stuff. And I didn't realize where the heck I was. So we get to the hospital and the doctor lady was doing nothing but busting my balls for being in a wrestling ring and getting hurt in a wrestling ring, and she gave me that whole deal. And she said that she recommended I take at least a week off before I commenced with more wrestling shenanigans. Now that was a different time and place. I was not going to let a concussion stop me from wrestling, because the next night I was scheduled to wrestle for the very first time my hero, my idol, Jake the Snake Roberts, and I wasn't gonna freaking miss it for anything. I walk into the waiting room and I see this little boy staring at me. And he looks at me and he says, "Are you a wrestler?" And I said, "Yes, sir." "Did you wrestle tonight?" I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Did you win then?" And I took a breath and said, "Not tonight, kid." And everybody else that was in the room just started bursting out laughing. So anyway, I don't think the kid got it, but everybody else sure did. So the driver that I was with takes me back to the hotel, and I said, no, we gotta get back to the show. Like, I was still loopy, thinking only minutes had gone by, but hours had gone by. He's like, "Mate, it's the middle of the night. The show's been over for hours." So I said, all right, great. So the next night in Birmingham, we get there, and I'm just doing everything I can to pretend to not be concussed because I don't want anything to get in between me and Jake the Snake. So the match is set, and it's going to be a tag team match. Myself and Doug Williams against Nigel McGuninness and Jake the Snake Roberts. And in true Jake form, he's busting balls and cutting up. He's looking at me and Dougie, looking at Nigel. Looking at me and Dougie, looking at Nigel. And he says, "Hey Dixon, why do I gotta work against those guys? Why can't I work against this guy? I could beat him up really easy." And he's busting Nigel's chops, and everybody's kind of giggling and this and that, and it's funny, and we're all having a fun time. So eventually, we're gonna get into this match. We haven't talked about anything except he just sort of showed me and told me how to take the DDT. Okay. I'm not worried about getting my neck broke. I'm not worried about anything except making sure I don't fuck the DDT up for Jake the Snake. So we get out there, we're doing our thing, everything's going great. Now it's DDT time. Boom, hooks me, here we go, boom. And I'm laying there, dead selling, thinking, okay, everything feels good, I'm in one piece, awesome. I didn't fuck this up, yay. And then the worst, most painful thing happens. He pins me, and knowing full well that I have to dead cell through this whole thing, he pins me. Now he's got that 5 o'clock shadow, that old school steel wool 5 o'clock shadow that could peel the paint off of a car if he just rubbed against it. So he put his face on my nipple and he rubbed really hard, knowing I couldn't move. And this big scary dude who I'm so intimidated by turns himself into what sounds like Beavis and Butthead. He just starts giggling, going, knowing I can't freaking move. And I'm laying there going, what the fuck is happening with my life right now? And that was my very first experience with Jake the Snake Roberts and the DDT.
Hello then, Governor. I'm Nigel McGuninness, and I want you to check out me LA fights. It's quite awesome, it's quite realistic, it's lovely. I need funding, please give it to me. I deserve it.
I'll give it to you, you son of a bitch! Nigel,